Hi, everyone. This is Dr. Gayle Carson. Welcome to Living Regret Free, a program that shows you how to live a better and more joyful life. As an added bonus, I invite you to listen to an introduction to my Mindset Matters program, which ties into this so well. Go to www.sobmindset.com. It's free, and I know you will enjoy it. If you'd like to contact me personally, drop me a line at gaylecarson13@gmail.com or go to my website, www.spunkyoldbroad.com, and sign up for my weekly newsletter. I have a terrific guest for you today, and very, very interesting, all the things that he does. His name is Robert MacPhee, and he's a speaker, author, coach, and consultant who helps people understand how to deal effectively with change. And he's author of the Manifesting for Non-Gurus book and partner journal. He's also the creator of the Excellent Decisions Leadership Program, where he shows people how to make decisions based on their vision, values, and value rather than all of the stress and pressure they're under. He's the founding member of the Transformational Leadership Council and the co-founder of the Southern California Association of Transformational Leaders. And he's also the former director of training for Jack Canfield, who is the co-creator of the Chicken Soup for the Soul book series and the author of the book, The Success Principles. So welcome, Robert. I know you have a lot to help us with today.
I am thrilled to be here. I love listening to people read my bio. It reminds me why I've been so busy.
So I guess the first question I need to ask you is, why do you do the work you do? I mean, you certainly, transformation is what everything is about today, and we're certainly going through that right now. So what led you to do the work that you're doing?
Well, it's a little bit of a funny story, because when I first graduated from college, I ran a valet parking company. And you can see the logical transgression from there to what I do now, right? But the truth is, as our company grew, and it was wonderful, it was a great entrepreneurial success, and that was great. But the truth is, we needed training and we needed support. We needed people to develop our managers and our employees. And I literally ended up doing that by accident, mostly because no one else wanted to do it. And as I was doing it, I just fell in love with it. I mean, we literally created a manager training program by buying eight copies of Stephen Covey's 7 Habits of Highly Effective People audio program and having our managers listen to the tapes and come in and talk about it. That was our manager training program. But I just loved doing it. And as I was doing that, I started reading more books and going to workshops and seminars. It's how I got connected to Jack Canfield. And I just felt that sense of purpose and meaning and feeling like I was doing what I was here to do more than ever before. So it just kept growing and growing. And it magnified probably even more when I had children. My wife and I have 3 children who are now in their 20s. And I just felt so driven to have them grow up in a world where they understood the kind of fundamental principles rather that people like Jack Canfield were teaching. And I say now that I had an unfair advantage as a parent because my kids grew up while I was working with Jack. And I really see with that as a laboratory how fundamentally game-changing that can be for people when they grow up with an understanding of what it really takes to be successful and to be happy and to be on purpose in life.
Well, I'm fortunate. I know Jack because I'm a member of the National Speakers Association, and
Sure, yeah.
And I also, when I was in my career track days, I sold a lot of his product, and I sold a lot of the success principles. So I'm well familiar.
That's how I first heard about Jack. You know Marilyn Sherman, I believe, also, right?
Yes, I do. I do.
Yeah. Yeah, well, I went to one of Marilyn's, whatever it was, Career Track or Skill Path or something like that at one point, and Marilyn held up a set of Jack's tapes and literally was a critical part. She and I just had a phone call not too long ago. Actually, I had her on my podcast and talked about the path that she put me on by holding up that set of tapes and, saying that they took credit cards and offered a 30-day money-back guarantee, and I was in. And I listened to his tapes and, went to his workshop and volunteered to support his work because it's so amazing, and then ended up working with him for a very long period of time.
Well, this is a show about living regret-free, and you're all about making excellent decisions. So how does making excellent decisions tie in with living a regret-free life? So what does it mean to make excellent decisions? Because there are a lot of people who can't make decisions.
Yes, and you mentioned in my introduction that the way we define excellent decisions in my work is decisions that are made based on vision and values and value. And I love how you emphasize the word value. That's actually kind of a relatively new component to the definition, rather than stress and pressure. And I think when people are living a life where they are experiencing regrets, in a lot of cases, it's because they've followed the direction of the stress and pressure. It's the peer pressure, the social pressure, the work pressure, the academic pressure. When we're younger, the parental pressure. We have so many people and so many influences that are trying to tell us what we have to do, what we need to do, what we should do. And to me, when I see people who are living a life where they're having regrets, it's because they followed those kind of influences. And people who have had the opportunity to do the work that's necessary to get really clear about their own vision, their own values, what's really important to them, and then let that be what dictates the decisions that they make and the actions that they take, these are the people who end up living a life that's more filled with a sense of purpose and meaning and fewer of those regrets that you're talking about.
So when we talk about how you came to all of this, what do you think the biggest obstacles are that people face when they're trying to make better decisions? I mean, I don't think people really go into anything trying to make a bad decision, but they just may not know how to make a good decision. So what are some of the obstacles you've seen people have?
Oh, two come to mind immediately. One is still in today's world, even with the internet and with information being so accessible, these principles, these ideas about getting connected and getting clear about our own vision and values are still inaccessible to so many people. They just don't know better. They don't know about that path even really exists. So that would be one thing. And it is great that in today's world, with the internet and with information being so accessible, that kind of information is being made available to more and more people. But the other thing that I think is even more of an obstacle is the sheer volume, and I mean volume in terms of like auditory, like the loudness of it, and also volume in terms of the sheer like mass of it, the quantity of it. And when we talk about the stress and pressure, if you look at the media and social media and just the sheer volume of influences that are bombarding us on a constant basis with advertising and all of this, telling us what we should do, how we should lead our lives, how we should behave, it's just overwhelming for so many people. And to find the time or to find the attention to put into trying to find a better way, for many people, it just really isn't an option. So again, I would say the single biggest obstacle to getting that sense of clarity about your vision and your values and what's really important to you is all the stress and pressure that sometimes we can't even see beyond that.
Well, I think it's different pressure and different criteria, maybe not criteria, but certainly different pressure. If you are a leader, if you're a head of a company, if you're a manager of a division, and if I'm a poor plebe working on the front line. There are people on the front line that I have found have fabulous ideas, but no one listens to them. Mm-hmm. And they don't know how to present their ideas, and they don't really know. I mean, sometimes I watch, oh gosh, I don't know I forgot the name of the show, but it's something about the boss, and he goes in to see what the workers are doing on how the
the undercover boss.
Undercover boss. And they can never do the chores that their frontline people are doing. They're like all hands and feet, and they just can't do it. And those people are doing it so well. And I think to myself, yeah, they're great at running the company, but they could never do it without all these other people. Mm-hmm. So what do you suggest to people who are maybe frontline people who really have to kowtow to others, but really could make some fabulous decisions?
Well, I think, and again, you mentioned in my introductions, with the Excellent Decisions program, I actually call it a leadership program. And part of the reason for that is that I believe that if people are clear about their vision and values and value, and that is what's dictating the way they think, the decisions they make, and the actions that they take, that in my book, they are a leader. Even if they're one of those, what you call frontline people, even if they don't have a whole bunch of people following them, I believe if we're leading our lives, letting our vision and values determine the decisions we make and the actions we take, then we really are a leader. So to that person who's on the front lines, who is committed to living their life like that and really does have good ideas and does have things that could make the organization better, if they're working for an organization that really isn't open to that, I'm not a big believer in like telling people to, throw their hands up in the air and quit their job, but I do think that's a really good time to take a good look at your organization that you're working for and say, is this the right place for me? Because that person who really has more to offer, but it's not being welcomed, there's a very good chance that that is going to be welcomed somewhere else. And the truth is, organizations, this model about vision and values and value applies just as much to organizations, which are really on some level nothing more than a group of people. That's what an organization is. They have the same model at their disposal. They have their own vision and values and value. We call it mission statements, and we call it purpose, and we call it engagement, and all these wonderful buzzwords in the consulting world. But the truth is, as individuals, we have a vision, we have values, and we have value that we bring. And an organization does as well. And what I hear in your question is a situation where there's not alignment there, where you have a person working on the front lines who has a bigger contribution that they can potentially make, and that particular organization isn't welcoming it. And if I was coaching that person, if I was working with that person individually, one of the things I would advise them to do, and again, with the caveat that usually there's a wonderful book out there about making transition from one area of life to another in a way that we can get to what really gives us a feeling of purpose and meaning without kind of cutting ourselves off at the knees. I'm forgetting the title of the book right now. It's a Steve Martin quote. So good they can't ignore you is the name of the book. And one of the things it makes very clear is it is rarely a good strategy when you decide you want to do something different to just quit your job and, chase after your dream kind of thing. Like, do what you love and the money will follow. It sounds good,
exactly.
but rarely a good idea. And yet, again, I think there is something really profound for that person who isn't appreciated and their value. And again, I really appreciate when we did my introduction, you really emphasized that concept of not just vision and values, but the value that we all bring to the people around us and to the marketplace. We all bring value. And if our value isn't being appreciated in the environments that we're in, a lot of times it's a really good opportunity to look for some new environments, look for some new people to hang around with, look for a new organization to work for, look for new clients, whatever it might be, if our value is not being truly appreciated.
But you said a word in there, I think, Robert, that is very important that most people don't talk about, but is very key to everything, and that's alignment. I don't know if people, when they first enter whatever position or workforce they're going to go into, they even look at alignment. And is this something aligned with what I want to do? I know that when I was a kid, and I'm going back a lot of years, and I said to my mom, I remember when I was like 3 years old, I said to her, I don't want to get married. I want to have a career and blah, 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 blah. And then when I was 13, I started creating all my own jobs. And then when I was 17, I went off to college, and I finished when I was 20. And I was in business for myself at 21. And I knew I could never be a corporate person. And I went to one time, I went to somebody who knew me, and I said, gee, do you think I should really stop what I'm doing and go to, she said to me, you wouldn't last more than 30 days, she said, because you can't be told what to do. You've got to do things on your own. Well, I can be told what to do. I go to people. I have coaches. I have mentors, but they have to be in alignment with how I think and what I do and so forth. And where do you think alignment comes into all of this, decision making and working for the right people and how you look at life?
Well, first of all, I just want to say I think your story that you just shared about your own approach and your focus on academics and your own clear vision that you wanted to go out and get into business in spite of what I would guess was some pretty strong stress and pressure that maybe you should just go out and get married and find a good man who would take care of you and that kind of thing, right? Like that kind of pressure and stress must have absolutely existed kind of in contrast to what you were pursuing, right?
Yeah, but it was very interesting. My mom, who was like way ahead of her time and was not an educated woman, but was a very intelligent and bright woman who's self-educated, she said both to my sister and I, and my sister has been very successful also, she said to us, first of all, there was no question that we were going to have a college education in a time when it really wasn't the best necessary thing for a woman, or if she went, it was to get her MRS degree. She said, you're going to college. And I never really wanted to go to college. All I ever wanted to do was work. And then she also said, and remember, you must always make your own living. Never, and this is interesting because my father
love your mom. I love your mom.
But my father always took care of my mother. She didn't go to work until my sister went to college. And then she quit work when I finished college because she helped, us with that. But she said, you must make your own money, never depend on a man. And they had a beautiful, loving marriage. So it was just very antithetical to what she was actually living. But that's how I was raised. And I was kind of the black sheep of the family because I always, wanted to go outside the box, so to speak. But she supported me in a lot of things. And she also did support me in some things where she just didn't feel comfortable that I was going to be taken care of. But I do think that alignment is a really important thing. And I think if you're not aligned, that's a big portion of why people are not successful and don't make good decisions.
Yeah, and I don't want to dodge that question because it's a really good question, and I do totally agree. And I think to some degree, the question about alignment is a math question. And I don't claim to be a math whiz. That's my daughter. My oldest daughter's a PhD in math, and she's doing math that's so far over my head I couldn't begin. But the truth is, I think if you look at wanting to live a life where you do find yourself in that position of really being aligned and your own vision and values and what you want to contribute, what you want to, how you want to deliver your value is in alignment with the organization or the clients that you're working with, I think it has to start with your own. And, I sometimes sound like a broken record because I keep going back to vision and values. But especially in this time with the stress and pressure of the world being ramped up in ways that I think we're going to look back on and see as really historical, having a clear sense of our own vision and values has never been more important. And I think for me, to go out into the world and look for alignment without knowing my own vision and values, which to me is the benchmark for what I want to align with, is crazy. How could that possibly work? And so it starts with my own clarity of vision and values and value, and then go out in the world and look for what aligns with that. And you mentioned earlier about someone kind of going out and interviewing and trying to find the right place. Well, I think we should go into those interviews as not just the interviewee, but also the interviewer, to avoid that situation where we find ourselves not aligned is let's not just let the company or the organization or the potential client be asking us questions, but let's ask them some questions to make sure that we achieve what you're pointing out is a really important objective called alignment.
True. And I do think, I think that there are certainly situations where you need to have a job to pay the rent. If you're a single parent and you're raising a kid or 3 kids, as many of them are, you got to make a living. But during that time, you're also learning and you're also discovering and you're also finding out where else would I be better suited. So I think all of that comes into to play. And I think it's also important in terms of what you're talking about, stress and pressure and things like that. And I would say that I guess I would ask you, Robert, what's the biggest lesson you've learned in your story of your career?
Well, I'm gonna kind of reflect back on kind of the stage you set for that question about sometimes we need to get a job and we need to pay the bills. And I think many people can understand that reality. And the truth is, I told you, the business that I started, it was a valet parking business. And the truth is, the job that I got was working as a valet. I was standing out in front of a restaurant. I was parking cars. It wasn't the most glamorous job in the world. It wasn't the best paying job in the world. But I approached it in a way, and my organization now is called Excellent Decisions. And I've always tried to approach, and I think I got this from my parents. You talked about your mom. I think I got this from both my parents, that whatever you're doing, do it well. Do it with excellence. Have a commitment to doing it really well and serving people on a really high level. And to me, that's the biggest key to making the next step up. But you're not going to go from that, hourly job where you're just making enough money to pay the bills. You're not going to go from there to, overnight millionaire. But the truth is, you can absolutely go from there to a much better situation by being excellent, by having a commitment to do whatever you're doing, whether you're sweeping the floor or whether you're, hiring all the people for the organization, whatever it is you're doing, if you do it with excellence. And again, I think that's a lesson that I learned from my own parents. It's part of the content that I'm trying to teach now about, continuing to always look at it through that lens of whatever I'm doing, I'm going to do it as well as I possibly can. Getting back to this concept of value, I'm going to deliver as much value as I possibly can.
Yeah, I think that's so very, very important. And I know we've just got about 4 minutes left to our show, believe it or not. But I know you have a gift that you want to offer to our audience, which is a free video that explains how change works and what you experience with resistance to change, even when you know it would be good for you. And I assume they get that by going to your website. Is that right?
Yes, the website's real simple. If people know that I'm the Excellent Decisions guy, if they go to excellentdecisions.com, and for that free gift in particular, to excellentdecisions.com/joy. The video it's a relatively short video, but it looks at change. I mean, when I look at the core of the work I do, it's all about change. If someone doesn't have some change they want to make in their life, chances are they're not going to be that interested in the work I do. And I believe it's really important for people to understand how change works. Why does this resistance come up, even if it's something that we know is good for us? I know I want to lose the weight. I know I want to make more money. Why do I experience resistance? And that's what this video is designed to do. And if people want to take a closer look, they can go from there. But it's a real simple way to get a little bit more of an introduction to the work that I do and get connected to me.
So remember, the website is excellentdecisions.com. And it's real. I'm glad you mentioned the word joy, because I'm all about joy. I just don't like to think that I have completed a day without joy. And it's a really important thing. And I was on a call this morning where we were talking about how difficult it is for people to work in this new environment of being home, especially people with young children or children who are using the internet for schooling, and the bandwidth isn't there for 4 people to be on at one time and all of that. So it's interesting that there's a lot of decisions that are being made right now. And I think people have to be flexible. And there's a lot of people who, they're used to a routine. I get up, I do this, I go home, I do that. And now it's been thrown into chaos, and it's going to be in chaos for the next few months, if not after that, because I think it's going to reshape how we do business. I mean, entire shopping centers with huge anchor stores and small boutiques are all there, as part of this. So it's going to be a lot of, just a whole lot of change that's going to be going on. So are there any last words of wisdom, Robert, that you'd like to leave our listeners with?
Wow. I agree with you about there's going to be a whole new normal. And when you were talking about the word joy, I think, that would be the one thing I would want to leave people with. I had the opportunity a couple years ago now to connect with a gentleman by the name of Sean Acor, who's a positive psychology guy.
Oh, yeah, I know who he is. And
he's amazing. And he shared with me the ancient Greek definition of happiness. And it's the experience of joy while in pursuit of your potential. And the first time I heard that, it would just hit me like right in the heart. It was like, that's what I want. That's what I want for myself. That's what I want for my children. That's what I want for my clients. The experience of joy while in pursuit of your potential. And I think all too often happiness is this, I'm 100 pounds overweight and I'm still smiling, or I'm bankrupt and I'm still smiling. And that's not the kind of happiness that I want. I want the kind of happiness. I actually had this printed on the back of my business cards when I learned it, that again, the experience of joy while in pursuit of my potential. So
absolutely.
That's what I would leave people with.
And that's why, folks who are listening, I have formed a new Facebook group. For those of you who are over 50, it is SOB Virtual Club, because I'm the SOB, spunky old broad. So if you're interested in joining, go to facebook.com/group/virtual SOB club. I'd love to see you there. I'm in it every day. I give you hints and tips and answer your questions. So hopefully I'll see some of you there. And Robert, thank you for such a wonderful interview. I really enjoyed it, learned a lot, and I just think you're a great treasure for the world. So everybody, enjoy Robert and go to his website, excellentdecisions.com.
Thanks so much for having me.
You've had the opportunity to get to know me over the last few years, and I'd like to get to know you as well. One of the things I'm offering is training for the media. I have a wonderful program that will get you ready for any radio or TV interview you might be offered. Many of you are doing wonderful things, but no one knows about them. Others of you are successful and wonder, what's next? Whether you're in a business or have a special cause or a specific event you're promoting, media can help, and I can help you master your message so you can master the media. If this sounds interesting to you, email me at gailcarson13@gmail.com with media training in the subject line. I promise I will be in touch. Thanks for listening, and I hope you enjoyed today's show. I choose my guests carefully, so if you have someone you'd like me to interview, please drop me a line at gailcarson13@gmail.com. In the meantime, check out my intro program, Mindset Matters, at www.sobmindset.com. See you next week.